I got to update that. It's actually 37 years now, the last 19, almost. It'll be 19 years in October that I've been a CIO. Before that, I was in systems and software engineering projects. You can hear me okay? I don't have to stand on my toes. Including 6 years on Space Station Freedom. So I was down here in Clear Lake. And it was kind of, yeah, that would be great.
Really?
Testing? Okay. Because I can't stand still. All right, so I work for Jacobs. I'm the CIO of Jacobs. And I was talking about my space station experience. Even before I worked on the space station, I had a deep interest, and I taught a course in artificial intelligence and did some R&D in knowledge-based systems and expert systems, reasoning with uncertainty. And in fact, when I was on the software support environment for Space Station Freedom, there was a short project that Michael Griffin tried to start. I don't know if any of you guys remember the DKC, the Design Knowledge Capture Project on Freedom. And it kind of has the same intent and purpose, to capture the knowledge we know before we're not here anymore. So that, you know, NASA in particular in some of the centers has an aging workforce. So we need to try to get that knowledge. In general, most of us learn by stories. We learn by lessons learned. We had on Space Station Freedom, one of the deliverables was a lessons learned document. And it's really lessons we wish we had learned or lessons to be learned. Unfortunately, most of us only learn those in the heat of the moment on projects that go wrong. And Jacobs Connect, which I'm going to show you and demonstrate, kind of came from a couple things. We're a relationship-based company, but also the atomic element of our world is projects. And project management is key to what we do. And the CEO, Craig Martin, before he retired, really wanted us to push, how do we push lessons learned to people before they need to know them? And that's still in our vision. We haven't cracked that yet, but I'll tell you how far we have gone. And I'm going to walk through what motivated us, and then time permitting, I'll bop into to do a demo. How much time? 10 minutes? No. When do you want me to stop? Okay. All right. Super. Then let me start. Before I tell you about Jacobs. Jacobs culture is very much about safety, and our Beyond Zero program goes beyond zero incidents and injuries to a culture of caring. So we have a tradition of always starting meetings with a safety moment, some kind of reflection. Some people pull them out of a deck of cards and use non-personal, tailored moments. Some people seek them from their past. The one I wanted to share is how much Jacobs Connect and a Wiki in general, when you touch into the heart of the humans learning the system, using the system, then you get more comfortable, and you get comfortable with interceding in case you see something that was not safe. Now, I was on Space Station Freedom from 88 to 93, and we were down here, and we watched the return to flight with just as much intensity as people on the shuttle program, because without that, the space station didn't have a hope of getting up there either. And we were over in 1150 Gemini, and it kind of was interesting. Later on, much later on, years later, there was a movie, a learning video called Groupthink, and it was filmed in the conference room over at 1150, and it talked about the Challenger incident. And part of the issue was not a culture of interceding, not a culture where you felt free enough to speak up at the lowest levels. And we're all about trying to create that culture. And I'll show you how Jacobs Connect supports that, and some interesting examples of how it does that. All right, so Jacobs has been down here for a while. I won't go into this in any detail, except that we do pretty much, it would be quicker for me to say what kind of engineering we don't do than it would be to recite all the engineering services that we do and the kind of work we do around the world. But one of our core values is we are a relationship-based company, and that's where we got started with this, with Jacobs Connect. On some of these things, I'll move right through so I can get to the demo. On other things, I'll take the time. But that was how we began. And I remember it was years ago, our CEO goes, "You're not moving fast enough on getting us to social media." And we were integrating a big acquisition. I wanted to upgrade the financials. We had to do a lot of things, but he wanted me to move faster on social. And we started this back in December of 11th, and we looked at a lot of tools, and we down selected to about 5. And at the time, there was a trial in the company that really brought this thing to a head. It was a trial, kind of a latent trial of Yammer, and it went viral, and it wasn't a controlled tool. So then we decided, well, we really got to get a real tool in here. Yammer was one of the ones we started to select, and then Microsoft bought them. We looked at Oracle's Web Center, which was at that point the home of our intranet, which we weren't very happy with. We looked at SharePoint because we still have a lot of data behind SharePoint. We looked at Google, but Google wasn't ready for the enterprise, and they needed us, and we evaluated their consumer products, which were not as robust. And the one we settled on was Jive Engage. Now, Jive actually has a kind of interesting experience in some other parts of the government. Excuse me. The CIA uses Jive for their social network. It's called A-Space, Analyst Space. The Army used it to put up Army knowledge online. So it has been also in a lot of other large professional services organizations, some of which can't make it work. In fact, there's a large Houston-based oil company. And I did a presentation similar to this at the Houston Big Data Conference a couple of years ago, and he came up to me and he said, "Well, we implemented Jive, but it's just not taking off." And I'll show you what makes a difference is really the engagement of senior management, for all employees to see the executives. And our CEO was very active, and that set the tone. So we went through this. We down selected, we did Jive, we did a soft launch, and I'll never forget, I'm in the backup, there's a slide, you don't have access to these, there is a slide on tools, rules of engagement and code of conduct and so forth. There was a lot of fear around that, and I remember the capital request approval meeting, and HR and legal and marketing communications said, all right, we need to make the point that this is just about business. Only business stuff goes on there. And our CEO goes, no, we are a relationship-based company. And he said, now, well, I don't watch cat videos. I'm not about to block people who want to watch cat videos on Jacobs Connect. So as you can imagine, in the early launch, the first 2 sites that showed up in Jacobs Connect were felines of Jacobs and canines of Jacobs. Okay? And we have a whole mix of different sites, very project-oriented, but some math doodlements and brain exercising are just kind of mental hobbies, and people pose things, and there's movies, there's a site for motorcycling, there's several recipe sites, but there's an awful lot of project sites, and I'll try to take you to some of both. There's one a particularly impactful one, stress reduction, and so people share, and I hope to share something that was written in there. It is in the backup material. One of my favorite sites, which I discovered a couple of years ago, is Aquatic Ecology of the UK. I like it because they show a fish of the week. Not cooked, all the details of this species. And it just shows kind of how we've evolved, and it's been kind of cool. All right, so here's the current functionality, and at the very end, I'll show you where we're going from here. And while Darren was setting up, I took a picture of him on my Android, and he was standing in front of the title page, and before he knew it, he was on my phone, he was on Jacobs Connect, because we have a mobile app. I'm using his computer, if I were using mine, I would show you how we can crowdsource with the plugins for Office, and we crowdsourced this presentation, and you can see in line, and I'll try to take you there. So the Office plugins and mobile access are very, very key points to it. And in addition, we have integration with Microsoft Outlook. Now, I find this pretty convenient because there are some important streams, not the fish, that I'll follow in my inbox, you know, like IT outages and announcements. I'll follow in my inbox. That means that it'll go into my email and I can respond quicker, or at least I'm on top of things. I mentioned we have SharePoint data stores. Oracle HR is our HR system, and it feeds our user profiles. And so does, let's see, Active Directory feeds and gives us account configuration and then accreditation or a certification. We just went live a week ago, literally 7 days ago, with a new global service desk called ServiceNow, and now that's integrated in, and so you can do a service ticket for an incident right within Jacobs Connect. A couple of years ago, we migrated our whole intranet into Jacobs Connect. The idea is that this is a digital landing page. We re-implemented our business processes for our standard business practices, all of our policies and procedures, so you can get to them. We're striving for one interface. And more people, it lessens load on email for people to use this and to comment, and in some cases, in a lot of subtle ways. This morning when after Darren set up the system, I posted my status. And I said, hello world, I'm here at Gilruth setting up for Jacobs Connect presentation. And literally within 7 minutes, somebody from India responded, somebody from Baton Rouge. That's less impressive. And then since then, well, it's impressive that they respond, you know. Hopefully anybody here from Louisiana? No, good. And then within the next 5 minutes, 3 people from the UK responded and liked my status. You know, like Facebook, you know, it's gamified. We like to like things in that way. So I liked Pramod's status because that meant he could tell I read it, for one thing. And then I responded back to him and told him I hope to get to India this fall. Let's see, we have blogs, our leadership blogs. I have a leadership blog, which I call Coffee Talks. And they're kind of along different leadership engagement topics. And not just to my organization, but to all of Jacobs. We have polls, videos, ideas, our groups. We can have wide open groups. Anybody can join brain exercising or motorcycling or running, but we have private groups. You know, so like my group, the Office of the CIO, is a private group. That means people can still see that it exists, but they have to be invited to join or request to join. But then we can have secret groups, which means unless you're invited, you don't even know it exists, and it won't come up in your search screen. Now, this is particularly important if you're working on a proposal or a due diligence for an acquisition. M&A is always really a secure activity. So we have those kinds of levels of security. Now, I just, this morning, this is not my computer, but I punched into Jacobs Connect and I authenticated with my Active Directory credentials, even though this isn't my computer. I went to DISA a couple of years ago and punched in. You're not allowed to bring any laptops, phones, or USBs in, but I got on the Vice Director of Operations laptop, punched into Jacobs Connect. Part of me, it was the first time I'd tried that, so part of me went, phew, glad that worked. I couldn't show him the integration with Outlook or with Microsoft Office, but I could show him some of the basic capabilities. Let's see, so ideas, polls, our profiles are both populated by Oracle, and then we can update them ourselves, and I may take you to my profile. Then documents. Now, we have disseminate our monthly status report through Jacobs Connect. It's back to the crowdsourcing. The real benefit of keeping a document and updating it in Jacobs Connect is this: how many times have you lost track when you're emailing a document to a group of people who had the latest version? And so, yes, you can do that on a SharePoint store or on a shared drive, but this shows tracking, and you can actually comment without editing the document itself. So it's really useful for that. And then projects, you can have some of the SharePoint functionality similar to SharePoint. You can manage Office projects. Clearly, for our big projects, we use more intense project management tools like Primavera and so forth. But for some projects, like you're going to have an offsite, or and you want all the people to be able to comment on the agenda, and you have tasks leading up to that. Some of our training, we have access to training as well. So we have lots and lots of stuff. And in the backup material, there's some statistics too. All right, I mentioned SharePoint is some of our underlying repository, and I think that's it. You can also do polls out there. So if you want kind of a sense, some of them are kind of silly polls, and some of them are more serious polls. But there is, I guess you could say, a modicum of silly on Jacobs Connect. All right, so we've been live for, I guess, about 3 years now, and we have over 28,000 employees who are active. Some of them are really active, and since some of my threads go into my email, I can pretend I'm active. I can be active without leaving email, without leaving the documents that I'm working with. And like I said, we replaced our corporate portal and migrated the stuff that was important. Not everything was important in there. Now, let me see if, the one thing that I did point out, which was one of the most serious shortcomings of our intranet, was that search never worked. And so in Jacobs Connect, the basic search was good, but now we're integrating Google Search Appliance into it for an even stronger context-based search capability, because what good is a bunch of knowledge if you can't find what you're looking for when you need it? All right, so just another note on the human side. Humans are more likely to share with people they know. And the reason Craig said cat videos are okay is that we get to know people by what we have in common. Experiences or hobbies, you're more likely to share with people you know, and you're more likely to intercede in case they're doing something wrong, either from a safety or from another thing. The weird thing about Jacobs Connect is that since we've launched, as I go around the world, I keep meeting people for the first time that I know, because you get to know people kind of as humans. There's people in the UK I haven't yet met, Stuart for one, Matt Wadicor for another, people that I see there, and I kind of get the sense of the person, even though I haven't actually met them, and they're not in my organization. Not that I've met everybody in IT yet. Now, the Wiki way speaks to a diversity of thought, and the way we've structured Jacobs Connect, we promote a more meshed and not a hierarchical sense of organization. Executives are approachable, and people don't hesitate to help. There's some of the self-policing in that. Now, what I started on a thread on the guidelines and rules of conduct. There are some words you're not allowed to use on Jacobs Connect. It will automatically, bleep them out. And there are guidelines for good use of social media, but it's also self-policing to a large extent. And we have a wide variety of personal groups in religious categories that some people might find offensive, but we don't forbid those on Jacobs Connect. But here's an example of self-policing. One time I was in the Netherlands, and one of my direct reports is Belgian. And so he was sitting across the table in a conference room with me, and I was on Jacobs Connect doing something, and I made a comment about Belgians. It was actually a reference to Monty Python. And he got it, the Belgian, I was poking fun at it, he got it, but somebody from Florida direct messaged me on Jacobs Connect and said I might be offending some Belgians. So I agreed with him, and I took down the comment, although I also explained that Patrick was sitting right there and he had a great sense of humor. And I hadn't ever met this guy, but he felt comfortable telling me, hey, you know, you're getting too close to a blurred line there. You want to be careful about not offending people. And I appreciated that. And I appreciate people telling each other or telling me, regardless of rank or status, if you're doing something wrong that might offend some people. But Wiki also speaks, of course, to the speed at which knowledge can spread around the world, in which we can get input. As I mentioned, it was within 10 minutes, 3 people from the UK, 1 person from India commented or liked my status this morning. Well, I posted this final draft yesterday, and one guy in Denver looked at it and he said, hey, I don't know the protocol for that meeting, but where's the safety moment? And again, see, because that's our culture, is safety, and to start our meetings with safety moments. And usually in a PowerPoint, we'll have a slide about the safety moment. And he noticed it was missing, and he felt very comfortable saying, well, what are you going to do? Where are you going to do that? All right, so I think I've mentioned a lot on Beyond Zero, and that's a large population of safety tips, safety instructions, safety observation reports, and such are in there. And part of our culture of caring, it's not just physical safety, it's mentally safe. And I'll share this example, and in the back of material, this was a kind of a profound occurrence on Jacobs Connect. Although I blurred out her name in the background. In the stress reduction forum a couple years ago, one lady, I'm not sure where she is, but she posted a blog about being mentally safe. And in that blog, she shared that it was the 3rd anniversary of the death of her daughter, who took her own life. And she shared that, and she's raising her granddaughter as her own. And she talked about there were no signs whatsoever that her daughter was going through any crisis whatsoever. But then one day, she was gone. And so this prompted an awful lot of course, appreciation that she is opening herself up and being very vulnerable. But she was doing that with the intent to share that you never know when those around you might need encouragement. Now, in the sharing that followed, and in fact, I had the NASA JPL CIO. We're in Pasadena. We're close to JPL. So I get Jim Rinaldi and his CTO, Tom Soderstrom, over a bunch. And I showed him that, and I said, within the trail, there was one of the ladies, an expediter from Calgary, who shared herself that when she was 12, she has a seizure condition. Most of Jacobs knows that I also have a seizure condition because I put it on Jacobs Connect as a safety moment. But she had one, and it was so profound that at 12, she took a big handful of her seizure medicine and tried to kill herself. And she woke up 2 days later in the hospital. Now that she's a mother, she can't imagine the pain that brought to her own parents. But she was finding alignment and supporting the message that being safe is not just about being physical safe, and it's not just about following directions and checking off a checklist. It's about really being in the moment and looking and connecting. It's about engaging with everybody, because you don't know, Monday morning when you greet people, you don't know if the last person they talked to was when they left the office on Friday. So Jacobs Connect helps us engage in a whole way that we never anticipated. We never dreamed of that. We have affinity groups in Jacobs Connect. One of our most active ones is Jacobs Future. The Jacobs Future program is for new grads right out of college and up to 5 years. So there are clusters of them around the world. And in fact, through Jacobs Connect, I had met one of our early adopters, Adam Dawson. He's down in Australia. In fact, there's a little story down at the page, you probably can't read it, but you can look at the slides. Adam gets all over the place. Oh, you're Adam, not who are you? But Adam Dawson and I had connected on Jacobs Connect. I had never met him. I have a presentation I give on the Leadership Challenge, the book by Barry Posner and Jim Kouzes. And he said, hey, can I use those slides when I kick off the Melbourne, Australia Jacobs Future chapter? I said, sure. Then as my schedule, the next week I go, hey, by the way, Adam, and this is without ever talking on the phone or anything, and for us introverted computer geeks, that's the way we like it, just staying it in the text mode. But I said, hey, I'm going to be in Shanghai next month. What if I drop down to Melbourne and help you kick off your Jacobs Future Network? So I did, and that was a connection that was made possible through just the way we use the tool. All right, I talked a little bit about the portal element. We have, you can connect with streams, and so you can follow people in streams, you can follow content in streams, and some of your streams you can direct to your inbox or your Outlook mailbox. I talked to our leadership blogs. When you get access to this, this is our CEO's last blog, and he wrote some thoughts on Jacobs Connect. And at that point, we'd been using Jacobs Connect for about 2 years, and there were still some old-fashioned transactional type managers who were kind of watching people and discouraging the use of Jacobs Connect. And I told him, I said, look, there's somebody down in one of our offices, and she says, well, this other person that I didn't meet told me that this other person that I didn't meet, that her manager was watching it. They felt that they were intruding, and so she was never on Connect anymore. So Craig wrote this blog about how transactional managers may see it kind of as a lightweight tool, not as a relationship builder. But the point is that nothing could be further from the case. You can really enhance your productivity when you have a question, especially about Excel. I think our tips and tricks on Excel is one of our biggest centers. But he put this on Jacobs Connect before he left, just to reinforce the use of Jacobs Connect. And you can't read it from back there, but this has had 18,440 views and 87 comments somewhere. I think it's 87 comments. And let me see if I can read it here. Looks like 200 or 300 people have liked it. Yeah, that's a great resolution. All right, but so things get around, and that was an important message to encourage people. Some people haven't tried it, and so we're looking at ways to continue pushing it out. Now we use it and post. We have communities of practice. I mentioned the tips and tricks. I mentioned aquatic ecology, but we also have discipline kinds of groups, wind tunnels, process engineering, infrastructure engineering, nuclear engineering. And then you can ask questions and get them answered that way too. With the search also works, and we're in the process of improving it. But if you do a search, you can find a person who might have a particular engineering or project experience or language skills, and we're in the future of that. We're continuing to go farther with that. Different teams have different. Work teams, organizational teams. When I did a big restructure of IT in late 2013, completely turned it upside down and did 3 regional service delivery areas and then the enterprise service delivery areas. And I put out the announcement, and of course in short order I was getting a lot of questions through email. And after staying up half the night answering these emails, I go, why didn't I do this before? And so I posted a frequently asked questions on the IT restructure. And that way, if I couldn't answer, somebody else could answer. But you could see the whole trail of people. You didn't have to answer a question more than once. And other people could answer it for you. And so it really showed the strength of Jacobs Connect, that in short order we had probably like 2,500 comments on the restructure. Let's see. 1,200 it says. I mentioned the crowdsourcing. An earlier version of this presentation that I gave a couple of years ago, I think it was at the big data thing at Houston. There was did a presentation on being a CIO, saying the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think that was the title of the presentation. I was keynoting in an event, and I pointed out that the things I wanted as a CIO in 1996, secure access to centralized knowledge stores, ubiquitous access, good customer relationships, are all good enterprise architecture. Those are all the things that I still want as a CIO. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. All right, so now here's our future vision, and then I'll pop in to Jacobs Connect and take some questions. We acquired a couple of years ago a large mining and engineering company called SKM. SKM had an internal platform called the Plaza, and they had done a better job in their Plaza, which was similar to Jacobs Connect, but more SharePoint based and more homegrown. But they had a tighter integration between projects, clients, and people, so you could do better search. So if you were putting together a proposal or looking for an expert, the project descriptions and project summaries were more tied together. So we're using that to develop an integrated intelligence framework following our J steps. Our J steps is our repeatable project methodology. So what we want is back to the idea of pressing lessons learned to people in the stage of the project that they need it, and connecting them to experts in that stage who might have some lessons to learn. We're trying to concentrate on capturing those anecdotes, those video stories. One of the best speakers I ever heard was Hiram Smith. He developed the Franklin planning system and then merged with Stephen Covey for the Franklin Covey planning system. One of the best talks I've ever heard. He spoke, and one of the things he said was, we learn by apperceptions, which is humans learn by stories. You know, and when I was started in software development, there was a debugging technique that some of you might be familiar with, maybe, the water cooler method, where back when we had water coolers, you'd go to the water cooler and you'd get water and you'd be talking about your code, and in the process of describing it to somebody else, you would solve your own bug. You know, so we learn by those stories, and so the point of integrating those stories and lessons learned and experts who have been there, done that, and who enjoy telling stories, you know, you can find those. So we want to continue integrating those lessons learned. Also, our CRM platform, customer relationship management, and we're doing more with business intelligence. So I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. So imagine you have your choice of 10 projects that you could bid, but you only have the resources to bid, 4. Well, you want to dip into the system and say, where are the experts in those engineering disciplines, and are they available? So you kind of want to pull out a cube, if you know what I mean, from business intelligence. Where are the experts that have relevant experience, and are they available? Is there resource allocation such that you can bid them? Do they have, and then where are the projects we've done before that have had the most success and the most customer satisfaction? So from that kind of data, you can take those 10 pursuits, and with a data-driven kind of operation, reduce to the 4 most likely to win based on the people you've got available, based on the projects you've done successfully, and the lessons that you've learned. You can also see tapping into the financial system. It's not shown here, but where they were most financially attractive. I mean, to be honest, we are a business. We are a for-profit business. So that kind of stuff is important when you're bidding a job. And then you can tap into Taleo, which is the cloud-based talent acquisition, so you can then reach out to get more of the experts you need. So that is some of where we're going with that. Let's see, anything else from this? So I'm going to wander over to Jacobs Connect, and stop me anytime. That was it? Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. All right, thanks. So this is what I see when I log into to Jacobs, but if Jacobs Connect. But if I go to the overview, and here's where I need a fast Wi-Fi, and I won't get it. But you can see that I have an inbox, and so those are some of the comments. And I was going to go to the overview screen and come back. And then you can connect, you can define as many streams as you want. And by streams, you can see on the sidebar, I have one that's called Fun Spare Time. So that's where I follow brain doodlements and the brain exercising math doodlements because I like math problems. I got a couple degrees in math, so I just am comfortable there. All right, so here is the overview, and so some of the news and news features, the access to the training, featured blogs, places worth a view, the technical library. Over on the left side, we've got some of the company spaces, so you can go into IT, legal, HR, see what's happening over there. Over here, we've got down here, we've got access to some of our tools like our time card system, our expense management system, and so forth. So those are the some of the kind of overview. This changes fairly often. I've set up some streams, the tips and tricks on Microsoft Office. You can see by the gray here, if there's a lot of stuff. So clearly, new stream I haven't been to. Come here first, I used to call senior management, but then I kept putting people I communicated in more often in there, so I thought maybe I'd better, better change it. Oops. And it just has a, let's see if I can scroll down. So it just has, so I follow Bill Burkoffer, and he blogged about the potency of remembering our service in May. Oh, here's me. This was the Jacobs Connect presentation. So this is actually where Larry downloaded the presentation and sent it to Darren. Let me get my mouse over here. So over here I have functions. I can edit it. If this were my platform, I could download it and open it in PowerPoint, and I'd see that I was still connected to Jacobs Connect. I was editing and I could publish, but then if somebody else came in and made some changes, how often does that happen to you? Probably more often than you'll admit. But then I can publish over him or accept those changes, but at least I have some, and I can see also in that window who's doing what at the same time as well as comments. Now, down here, you can see yesterday where Dave called me out on not having, a safety moment. So I replied early this morning when I got here and logged up, I replied to him. And I think he said two people said they liked it, but for Dave that meant he read it because he acknowledged that I had addressed his comment. And then if I go back over to help, I mentioned that our service desk, our new ServiceNow implementation was integrated, so you could do a help desk ticket anytime, not about anything for that matter, or a service request if you need a new cable or a new laptop. Over here, that's my icon, and Linda mentioned that that I started this program called Technology Goddesses. So my icon, my avatar really is a Technology Goddesses logo. But I can go over to my profile and I can edit my profile, but it also shows that I'm following 488 people and 2,636 people are following me. Why? I don't know. I only have 1,200 people in my organization, so I have a lot of followers on Jacobs, and it shows, some of my my experience before I was a CIO. It also gives my contact information, and it gives me, some of my top contacts, recognition, my trending. Oh, the Las Vegas, now I have to explain that since Las Vegas showed up in my speed. One of the expediters from Canada got married, so first we set up a secret space for her. She's not in IT. She's just a member of what we call the tribe. We set up a secret space so that everybody could write good wishes, and then we opened it up and gave her the space, if you get that. We've done that on a few other occasions, like Mike Draper, when he retired, we opened a space for him where everybody could talk about the good experiences they had working with him, and then we can capture it and give him that space on his retirement. When John Adams got in a car accident and died unexpectedly, we opened a space and we shared memories and pictures and then downloaded it and shared it with his family. You know, so that a lot of times we spend more time at work than the people we live with, and so we wanted to recognize that for his family. So let me just stop there and answer any. Oh yeah, wait. I will go to my status update. So right after Darren set this up, I did an activity, and see. So now, if you stand right here, I'll take another picture and then another picture. Okay. All right, so Denise, now I have to tell her I like that comment, and that was just 9 minutes ago while I was still here, okay? So that just shows you, you know, kind of how it kind of connects us. I don't know Denise, she's not in IT, but I know her from the web. Now, Pramod in India, who responded an hour ago, is in IT, so maybe that's why he's following me. But anyway, I've talked long enough. Questions? Or things you might want to see? Yes. Oh, good.
I had a question about your search engine. You choose the Google search appliance. Ever consider something like Solar or Elasticsearch?
I don't know. I will write those down and I will ask. Hold on. Let me go and ask. Ask right now, and then I'll let you know at the break if I get. Here, hold on. So I'm going to @mention, and when you @mention somebody, that pulls them in and gives them alert. So I'm just gonna. All right. So see, and it brings up I can @mention a place, a comment, content, or a person. So I'm going to @mention the guy who works for me. Oops, I @mentioned him twice. Well, I'm really serious about getting an answer. We consider Solar. Okay, SOLR or Elasticsearch as so I'll post that, and then, you know, let's see, he's in Tullahoma, Tennessee. I'm not sure if that's where he is this week. You know, he may be on travel, but if I get a response, I'll let you know. Other questions? Yeah.
Is this enabled through mobile?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I have Jive on the Android. In fact, let's see. I have my iPad over there, and this picture, it doesn't have the signature. I took this picture on my Android while I was standing up there, and I posted it from my Android. And actually, the iPad interface is very, very nice, and you can kind of browse content. It's a very nice, but Jive Mobile for the Android and the iPhone and Windows, maybe for the BlackBerry, I don't know. Yes. Yeah.
Quick question. You talked about your ability to pick between various projects. What type of back-end analytical system are you using to do that predictive modeling?
Okay, so that's in the early days. For some of it, we're using Tableau, but we haven't finalized all of the analytics that'll go. Some of it we've got OBIEE from our Oracle systems. It's still early days yet. So any suggestions? And when you talk, I'll take good notes because maybe you'll cover that. Yes.
So the Jacob Connect kind of looks like Facebook for for the company, right? And a lot of companies are struggling with this problem of deploying a collaboration platform, while as a consumer, like things like Facebook are succeeding. So what would you say if there were like 3 key things, right, that enabled your success? What would that be in the enterprise collaboration space? That this tool, seems like it's really successful?
Well, I'd say 2 things. The leadership presence from the CEO down, they have scattered. Some of our, anybody who's really studied social media knows it's really not an age thing. In the early days of Facebook, the biggest uptake was with women 50 to 55 years of age. So, some of our traditional managers would say, oh no, I'm just too old for that. And that's not true. Some of them are not comfortable blogging, and I keep trying to talk to them about that. What are they not comfortable with? Getting the immediate feedback. So the executive presence in Jacobs Connect kind of it telegraphs a message saying, hey, it's okay to be on Jacobs Connect. And so my presence, the CEO's presence, the other manager's presence telegraphs that. I just brought up cats of Jacobs. It's canines of Jacobs and cats of Jacobs. But having that kind of playful encouragement of how we build our relationships, and we build them, an interaction at a time. And you can find points of accord or commonality with any person. With some people, and I like we have dogs. I've had cats in the past. I don't know if I ever posted, dogs. We also have an animals of Jacobs, because in some of our sites, not just the aquatic ecology, like in Delhi at our old building, we had a black monkey menu who was paid like $1 a month to scare away the red monkeys. So he's on there too. So it's to summarize, it's the executive presence really makes a difference, but and also being able to have fun with each other. Let's see if I can find Manu. Probably not. Other questions?
Okay, one more question, and then
Yeah.
we'll have to wrap up.
So this is a knowledge management event. So the question for this is, have you been able to find out anything about the social relationships, social graphs, what makes people work better? What's working, what's not working based on this?
Yeah, now there's, sorry, so here's Manu. It's a big picture. You can see over here the impact metrics. Actually, so this is a really big picture. You can see over here the impact metrics. And we have, just on Manu, which probably is not the most, reasonable thing to check impact metrics on, all right? But we also, on my profile, you saw, let's see, let me go back to my profile. So we've only started kind of analyzing it. There's an infographic in the background, so here you can see, this is the start of it. I don't know what'll happen if I click that. Oh, maybe it just shows the relationships. But you can, let me go down to my content. Let's see. I started this space on engaging youth in STEM, and I'm trying to find something where I'll show you good metrics, but we're still in early days, so I can't give you an answer if we've analyzed what's important. We do track relationships and impact of the content, but we haven't done much with it yet. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cora.
Let me just close out of this, so
You don't want me posting on there?
so you don't, not this time.
Okay, thank you, Cora, for showing us all the different features and the ways that you're connecting your people together. Next, we have David Meza. He's the Chief Knowledge Architect for Johnson Space Center.